Alright, I'm not going to waste any time on long introductions. Let's get straight to the point. Should you buy the Motorola Edge 60 Pro for 33,999 or should you spend 6,000 rupees more for the OnePlus 13R? Now you must be wondering, Ashad, the Edge 60 Pro is 30,000 rupees. Where did 33,999 come from? Not the 12GB variant that we tested. Alright, so let's get down to this battle and find out which one of these two is total value for money. If you're here for the first time, I'm Ashad. This is Trakin Tech English, your destination for detailed, incisive gadget reviews. The first thing that I can't wrap my head around is the fact that how is the OnePlus 13R slimmer or thinner than the Edge 60 Pro on paper? Because in real life, when you hold these phones in the hand, the curved back and the curved front of the Moto along with the thin frame actually make it feel slimmer. But yes, OnePlus has used a more premium material for the frame itself. You get aluminum as opposed to plastic on the Motorola Edge 60 Pro, and you also get a wider frame. Therefore, it's also got more area to grip on. That said, I still feel like the Edge 60 Pro is more comfortable to hold just because of that curved rear and the fact that it is also lighter compared to OnePlus. Now, as for the backing material, you get vegan leather on the Edge 60 Pro, whereas on the OnePlus 13R, you have glass. And in real life situations, vegan leather will get stained easily as opposed to glass, which will actually break easily. And that could be easier on the OnePlus 13R, especially considering the fact that we don't know what kind of glass protection OnePlus has used. So you might want to use it with the case. A quick break before I move on to the other things. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because your support is important to us and that helps us motivate do more such content like these for you guys. Alright, now talking about the design itself, while the Motorola Edge series design is like kind of old now, I still like it a lot and I prefer it over the design of the OnePlus 13R. And you know that with this you get a distinctive Edge series design. I really like that fused camera module, and now this nylon texture for the vegan leather is also a really nice touch. The Edge 60 Pro is also more durable because you get better IP rating and you also get military standard 8108 certification, which you do not with the OnePlus. Unfortunately though, both these phones have a Type-C 2.0 port at the bottom, which should have been Type-C 3.1 for faster transfer speeds. By the way, while you get your standard power button, volume rocker, all of that, with Motorola what you get is an extra AI button, and with OnePlus you have your, trusty old alert slider, which is really going away soon. Also, you do get that infrared blaster at the top. Now that we're done with the design part of the comparison, we're back to that same debate. Flat displays versus curved displays. Now, of course, the Edge 60 Pro is the one that has the curved display, where OnePlus has a flat display, and both are fantastic OLED panels. You get 1.5K resolution and you also get 120Hz of refresh rate. And when you look at them side by side, both have extremely slim bezels and very good screen to body ratios, nothing separating the two really. But one advantage with the OnePlus 13R is that it's an LTPO OLED panel, which means that it's got VRR. It can go as low as 1 Hz and as high as 120Hz and anywhere in between as well. The advantage of having variable refresh rate is that it of course helps with gaming and offers better power efficiency, but more about that in a bit. Now, when we took these phones outdoors and checked them side by side, OnePlus is brighter than Motorola. But when you're watching YouTube HDR content, Motorola seems to be better than OnePlus, especially when you do a comparison, because Motorola has brighter specular highlights and it just pops in comparison. Another advantage with Motorola is that you get Pantone validation, which means that the color accuracy is better than OnePlus 13R, and you also do get better skin tones as well. But this is when you're watching HDR content on YouTube, because that is the only support that you get with Motorola. You get HDR only on YouTube, but on OnePlus you get HDR support on YouTube, and you also get HDR support, HDR10 support, plus Dolby Vision support on Netflix, which is something that a lot of people care about. OnePlus's haptic feedback tuning is also superior compared to Motorola, because you of course get O haptics, which is fantastic, and you also do get a higher PWM dimming rating. Plus, we tested out the stereo speakers on both. Motorola has support for Dolby Atmos, which is nice, and Motorola sounds louder. It also sounds slightly richer and has a little more bass as well. Take a listen to it for yourself. Now, for the audiophiles watching the video, you will be happy to know that either one of these two phones, if you pick them up, you will get support for LHDC and LDAC both. Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 LPDDR5X RAM type, UFS 4.0 storage. That's the OnePlus 13R for you. Dimensity 8350 Extreme LPDDR5X RAM type, UFS 4.0 storage. That's the Motorola Edge 60 Pro for you. And it goes without saying that the OnePlus 13R is a better performing phone, especially when you're looking at something like gaming. Anyway, in synthetic benchmarks like Antutu and Geekbench, OnePlus comes out on top. Now in CPU stability, the Edge 60 Pro offered better stability compared to the OnePlus 13R, and that's also possibly because the 13R pushes for more performance. You see that it has more average jips as well. I noticed something similar with the GPU stress test that we ran. OnePlus has lower stability, it loses more battery life, and it gets hotter too. But the best loop score is higher. In fact, as one would expect, the OnePlus 13R also offers higher average FPS in Genshin impact compared to Motorola Edge 60 Pro. So while the Edge 60 Pro is not as powerful as the OnePlus 13R, it has been tuned well for sure. So it doesn't get too hot and it doesn't throttle too much either. The 13R should of course be the phone of choice for gamers, but that performance headroom comes with a little bit of stability hit. Between these two phones, if you're a performance enthusiast or if you're a gamer, then definitely you should go with the OnePlus 13R. Also, for those who like playing BGMI, OnePlus supports 120 FPS, Motorola doesn't. Now both the phones have a 6000 mAh battery, but the OnePlus 13R's 6000 mAh battery is actually lithium-ion battery, and this one is a silicon carbon battery. Charging speeds are 90 watt that you get with the Edge 60 Pro, 80 watt with the OnePlus 13R, and you get the chargers inside the box. And when we tested it out, both these phones take about 52-53 minutes for a full charge. But Moto's advantage is the fact that you also do get support for 15 watt wireless charging standards. In our testing, we noticed that the Edge 60 Pro gave us 9 hours 20 minutes of screen on time, whereas OnePlus gave us about 8 hours 30 minutes odd of screen on time. So therefore the battery life is definitely better. And in general, we also noticed that the battery life is superior on the Edge 60 Pro and it lasts really long. Motorola has tuned the battery really well. Network performance on both is pretty stellar. You get support for almost all the 5G bands that you can think of, and Jio and Airtel work absolutely fine. You do also get support for Bluetooth 5.4 and NFC. But the one advantage with OnePlus is that you get the latest Wi-Fi 7 support, whereas Motorola gives you Wi-Fi 6E. So 50 megapixel Sony Litia 700C sensor, 50 megapixel ultra wide angle camera that can also double up as a macro, 10 megapixel 3x telephoto camera, 50 megapixel selfie camera. That's the camera setup on the Edge 60 Pro. With OnePlus, what you get is a 50MP Sony Litia 700 sensor. You also get an 8 megapixel ultra wide, a 50MP 2x telephoto, and a 16 megapixel selfie camera. Now, these are specs. What matters are the pictures. Let's take a look. Now, when you're looking at photos that have been captured with the primary camera under direct sunlight, the detailed retention is almost similar on both. There is little to no over sharpening even at 100% crop, which is fantastic. However, at 2x, OnePlus pulls ahead thanks to the dedicated 50 megapixel 2x telephoto lens. That said, if you take a look at the primary and the telephoto side by side, you will notice some color shift with OnePlus. At 3x, Motorola pulls ahead thanks to the dedicated 10MP 3x telephoto lens, and the same color shift problem is present on Motorola as well. And at 5x, the detailed retention is kinda better on OnePlus 13R. We expected Moto to do better. Low light is where OnePlus pulls ahead once again with better detailed retention and exposure with the primary camera samples that you can see. Even the 2x is superior on the OnePlus 13R. But at 3x, 5x and 10x in low light, Motorola pulls ahead thanks to that dedicated 10 megapixel telephoto lens. Also thanks to Pantone collaboration, the colors are spot on Moto here. They're very close to neutral. OnePlus gets the reds, the greens and the browns kind of wrong here. With the HDR tuning, I feel like Motorola definitely does a better job compared to OnePlus. So you get better control over the highlights and the shadows, as you can tell. Especially if it's a very high dynamic range image, then sometimes OnePlus has a tendency to blow out the highlights. But more importantly, Moto doesn't sharpen the textures in the multi-stack processing like OnePlus does in this second image of Srikanth. Now skin tones are also closer to neutral on Motorola once again thanks to that Pantone skin tone validation. OnePlus has that red skin tone problem that I have mentioned in previous videos. Now if you like taking portraits, Motorola has 4 different focal lengths to work with. I would not recommend taking photos at 24mm, so we'll compare the 50mm portraits from both, and both have a very distinctive look. However, the bokeh drop off and the edge cutout is superior on OnePlus. Although at 85mm focal length, Moto immediately gets better, and that's something that I prefer. Now the ultra wide angle camera of course is superior on Moto. You get more details in daylight. The HDR is better. Low light pictures are also superior. In fact, even the macro that we captured with the ultra wide shot is of better quality compared to the macro from the telephoto on OnePlus. And the wins don't end there for Motorola, not just the ultra wide, even the selfies look incredibly better too. You get superior skin tones, more details in daylight, low light selfies are also superior compared to OnePlus 13R. HDR performance is also better, and even portraits are superb. Now when it comes to video, both the phones can record 4K videos with the primary camera, but OnePlus can do it at 4K 60 FPS compared to Moto, which can only do at 4K 30 FPS. And the video quality speaks for itself. OnePlus is clearly better both in daylight and in low light, because you also do get higher bitrate video recording quality. That's also the case with the telephoto lens. Edge 60 Pro can only do 4K 30 FPS, whereas OnePlus 13R can do 4K 60 FPS. However, if you want to shoot with the ultra wide angle and the selfie camera, then Motorola does a good job because you get 4K 30 FPS video recording, whereas OnePlus can do only 1080p 30 FPS video recording. So when you put the cameras together, I would say that OnePlus would be the better camera suited for videography and videography alone. For every single other parameter, I think Motorola comes out on top. Now talking about software, with Motorola you all are aware, I've said that multiple times now, Hello UI based on Android 15. Now Moto's also promising 3 years of OS updates and 4 years of security updates, whereas OnePlus is promising 4 years of OS updates and 6 years of security updates. So therefore, OnePlus does have a leg up there. Now if you have to look at the software experience on both these phones, I would categorize Oxygen OS as the one with the more modern design and which is tuned to be very smooth. In comparison, Motorola is the one that is chock-a-block with features and new AI experiences that are kind of useful actually. Now talking about the modern design of Oxygen OS, you get stuff like live activities and flux themes that actually makes the experience look more modern, more 2025. There are some AI experiences that I kind of like using on OnePlus, for example, the AI reflection eraser or even writing tools for that matter. Now with Hello UI, Motorola has a standard set of features that it offers with all of its phones, almost all of its phones. And I've said this multiple times before. For example, you get Moto gestures, you get family spaces, you get Moto secure, and you also get something called ready for, which is actually a killer feature because you can kind of use the phone as a desktop itself, which you cannot with OnePlus. And then of course, you've got the new Moto AI experience, which can be triggered by just pressing this button, and it's kind of flagship grade. So there's something called Update Me, which summarizes all of the notifications. With AI Image Studio, you can generate images, stickers, and even avatars. Remember, this is like Nothing's Essential button, which basically creates a memory of whatever you see on your screen or even a photograph that you want to capture. Then there's Playlist Studio, which works exclusively with Amazon Music for now. You generate playlists by giving it some prompt. While all of this individually are good, it is all tied together with something called Next Move. So the moment you are on certain screen and you press that AI button, you will get options for what you can do with it. For example, I opened this article on Game of the Year expectations for 2026 and it gave me an idea to generate an image of these nominations, which is kind of cool. So yeah, more features, smoother experience. And we're back to comparisons where I can't pick out one clear winner. So let me try to break this down for you. See, buy the H60 Pro that offers you a more value for money product with more premium features like IP69 rating and wireless charging. You also get a better camera experience, a better tuned battery performance, and superb, really useful AI features as well. OnePlus 13R's biggest advantage is the fact that it is a performance-oriented phone aimed at gamers because you also do get a flat display and the performance is actually better than the H60 Pro. And Oxygen OS is also smoother and a more refined experience compared to Hello UI. Also, very importantly, OnePlus has a very good track record of giving out updates on time, which is not true for Motorola. Now, with all of that information at hand, which one of these two phones would you pick? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, keep tracking and stay safe.